At first, I was not that excited for this movie, and that's so weird to say because it's a Star Wars film. Been excited for all of them to come out so far. Of course, I was excited, but not as much as I thought so until that second, or I guess you could say first full-length trailer came out. The one that ends with him yelling, "Chewie!" That trailer got me 100% on board. I was so excited.
My expectations for this movie were not great. I wasn't even really looking forward to it, but when I walked out of there, it was just one of the most fun Star Wars movies that I have ever seen.
Alden Ehrenreich did a great job. I really thought he embodied a lot of the Han Solo, his characteristics and the things that make him. All the little cocky, sort of arrogant little mannerisms and just things he says, and you see he played that confident role very well. I thought he did a good Han Solo.
Obviously, when you go into a Han Solo spin-off movie, you expect to see Han and Chewie. No matter how young or old they are, those two are inseparable. They go with one another no matter what happens. We got the introduction of these two in this movie. We got to see how they met, and how they met was actually a really, really fun and just interesting scene as far as Chewie being captured by the Empire, Han basically being fed to him, and then them kind of coming up with a plan of escaping. And so it led to great friendship. It was secretly admitted that there's a life debt there, even though it wasn't really announced, that Chewie basically owes Han his life for letting him escape, for bringing him along the ride, etc. Chewie is probably my favorite character in the movie. His moments in this movie are the best he's had in Star Wars, period. He's great as a supporting character in every other Star Wars film, but he is arguably a main character in this movie, and he does a fantastic job of bringing the comedy and the fun elements to it. Ron Howard and whoever else who had involved with it was so good to do what they did with this character alongside Han as well, because the two of them, obviously, like I said, they're inseparable, and what they did together and how their friendship kind of grew throughout the story was absolutely perfect in my mind.
Emilia Clarke playing Kira in this movie was fantastic. She brought a whole new type of badass woman to the universe. Almost at times kind of made me question if I liked her relationship with Han better than Leia's, but then you kind of realize that that's not going to happen. But it left me wanting to know more of her story, and I'm hoping that we get a sequel just so I can find out what goes on with her.
One character I was really looking forward to was Woody Harrelson's Beckett. I love Woody Harrelson. He's been one of my favorite side actors for a while, and I think he can carry a film if he wants to, but I really liked Beckett. He was a good influence on Han and how he became how he is. I think he kind of started Han not trusting people, obviously. There was a little cliche things with the character and a little predictability with where the story went with that character, but overall, I love his influence on Han and how he gave him his blaster and what he means to Han going forward in his life.
One of my favorite parts of the whole entire movie is the train heist, when you get to see basically all the characters, main characters in the movie just trying to pull off this heist that involves them going after this train that can turn sideways and do all these different things. My one disappointment was that they killed off Val so early, and I would have loved to know a little bit more about her character and her history with Beckett, but it just never stopped with the action.
When we think young Han Solo, the one thing that we want to see is the Kessel Run. Throughout every movie that he's in, that guy brags about doing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Well, we find out that it's actually a little bit over 12 parsecs. He just rounds down. But doing it in 12 parsecs is really, really good because it's actually like around a 30 parsec thing. And the way they kind of did it was really interesting as well. And that it obviously wasn't what we expected. I was honestly thinking that it was some kind of race, maybe some kind of just different thing than it actually was in the movie. They were first escaping from the Empire, and then it ended up being this like giant cloud strangers thing type thing with a monster on the inside, and they're just trying to escape basically a giant black hole. That's their ultimate goal. And even though it was very, very different from what I was expecting, I thought the way they shot it and the way the kind of pace was involved in it was really, really well.
Yeah, the one thing I could have done without in this movie is, we talked about it in our review, which you can listen to, but the way they gave him his name, Yeah. Let's see. Han Solo. That's gonna be your name. It's weird that somebody didn't. Someone must have stopped and said, "Don't do that. His name's Han Solo. Let's come up with something else." But that didn't work for me. That really bothered me in this movie.
I would love to see a sequel to this film. I think, regardless of any Darth Maul thing or anything, I think you could leave that out and just tell another chapter in Han's life. I want to see how he becomes the person that we meet in A New Hope, because at the end of this film, he is not so angry at the galaxy and so negative as he is when we meet him in A New Hope. I want to see how he became that way. You don't have to tell me everything, but there's one incident, I think, that made him that way. So I would love to see a sequel and see where this character goes, because there's a lot of time in between.
Does Solo deserve our number 4 movie of the year so far? I think it does. I think it could be lower, it could be higher. It could honestly go either way. But even though it doesn't seem like there were a lot of movies this year so far, I think that there definitely are better movies. But we got to remember the expectations that were with this movie and everything that happened off set and everything that happened on set, and that year production that they really struggled and how bad the marketing was. For it to be number 4 on our list and high up on a lot of others, it's a huge success on Lucasfilm, on Disney, and everyone involved. Even though the film is struggling at the box office, even though that the whole Star Wars spin-off thing is weird, and even though it's a Star Wars movie that isn't ranked, a little bit higher on our list, for this movie specifically, number 4 is a really good spot.